at Fiserv Forum. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Are you ready for some football? He talks green and gold.
158!
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels.
Good evening and welcome. The Huddle comes on this Wednesday night with a lot of fanfare, a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement because the Bears still suck.
Yes, it does. And I tell you, today we had a great show. It started off with the story from the gym and people wanting to know about, the Bears and the Packers and can the Packers win and looking for affirmation. I get off the air today and had a couple of places to run. Went out, two people, same thing. It's just, but when I asked the question earlier today, I said, hey, look, let's be honest. Is this game as anticipated as, is the rivalry still there? Is this still the rivalry or has the luster worn off of it, from the days of Jim McMahon being slammed to the turf and, is it still heated? From Forrest Gregg and Mike Ditka fighting in the tunnel down at Soldier Field prior to the game. Is it still that heated? And the answer unequivocally is yes. Yes, it still is. A lot of people have anticipation for this game. The big game is tomorrow night. That kicks off the weekend, off week 14. I can't believe we're on week 14, but kicks off week 14. You've got the Cowboys on the road taking on the Lions. So the Lions will already either have a win or have a loss and really be paying a lot of attention intensely to the Packers-Bears matchup coming up on Sunday. But this is a big one. I think that there's a couple of others on the docket. People are looking for the downfall of teams. Can the Philadelphia Eagles bounce back? Will the Kansas City Chiefs basically be, take that knockout blow from the Texans? Things like that. Who's going to be the leader in the AFC North? Is it going to be the Steelers or is it going to be the Baltimore Ravens? But for the most part, everybody's anticipating this game. Everywhere I went, stopped over Menards, and it was a lot of, hey, how you doing? Bears week, heard the show, that kind of thing. Grant Bills, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. You were approached at Menards today?
Well, I know one of the people there. So it wasn't they approached me, out of nowhere. I know one of the guys that works there. And I was
busy day in public settings for you today.
Yeah, it was. I walked in, Stan is his name. He works in paint. I walked over to Stan. I said, hey, how you been? Just ask how his Thanksgiving was.
He works in paint?
He works in the paint department.
Okay, yep.
He helps me out, not because of the paint, but because when I needed, two things I needed. I needed like not duct tape, but like the Gorilla Tape.
Frog tape?
Yeah, kind of like that. No, not frog tape, the Gorilla Tape. It's when it's like gaffer's tape. So when I'm on the road and I have to tape down wires and everything, I always use it to make sure it's secure. So I always go in and get a couple of extra rolls. And at first I didn't know where it was. I didn't know it was in the paint section because I just figured it was where all the other adhesives were, but they were mixed up in the store. So anyway, long story short. So I was there, and then that thing called like foam stuff or whatever it is where you spray it into a crack and you're trying to insulate your house and the stuff swells up, and that's over there. So he was kind of explaining to me what I would use certain things for. So anyway, because I had a leak in my house like a year ago, and he helped me out. So I got to know the guy. So I walked in. I'm like, hey, Stan, how you doing? How was your Thanksgiving? He starts telling me the story about his family, and his son came home. His son lives in Phoenix, Arizona. His son came home. He got a new job and this and that. And he's like, hey, heard the show today. Hell yeah, we're fired up. Hell yeah, this is a rivalry. I mean, just on and on and on. So, and then the lady at the cashier, she was wearing a Packers shirt today with her blue Menards vest. And I was very polite, saying, how you doing? And one of the things that as I'm getting ready to leave, she says to me, without knowing who I am, go Pack, go. And I said, oh, you're into this week. She goes, oh, Bears, hate the Bears. Little old lady. It was great. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Rick. Great stuff. Yes, that's exactly what I was using. So you better believe this is a big-time rivalry. It's back. The Packers have won 8 of the last 9 and 14 of the last 17 meetings between the Bears and the Packers at Lambeau Field. The Packers have outscored Chicago 472 to 268 in the last 17 home games, scoring 20-plus points in 14 of those contests. And it's the latest first-time meeting between the Packers and the Bears since 1998. The Packers have won 8 of the last 9 in December against the Bears, and Green Bay has a 108 wins against the Bears all time in the regular season and playoffs, tied for the most victories by one team against another in NFL history. So there you go. And it's going to be the third time in the series in the history that the Packers have both played 12-plus games and each other with a 700 winning percentage. Only the third time in the history of this of the rivalry that they've actually both been over, like with winning records, over a 700-plus winning percentage. You would figure it would be a lot more, but it's not. It's been like the Bears dominated for a long time, and the Packers have dominated for a long time. The Packers are 3-0 in division games this season, and one of 2 NFC teams and 4 teams in the league to be undefeated right now in their division games this season. And it's the last of 3 straight games against the NFC North opponents for the Green Bay Packers over a span of 15 days. Think about that. There you go. So because after the road game next week at Denver, the Packers come back. They face the Bears in Chicago. And then from there, the Packers have the home game against the Ravens, and then they end the season at US Bank Stadium. The Packers have 18 zero-giveaway divisional games since 2019, number 1 in the NFL. So against division rivals, they pretty much hang on to the football, and they are 17-1 in those games. So if they don't give the ball up, overwhelmingly, the Packers will be able to win the game. And remember, last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was either a fumble or a pick in that last game against the Bears. So that's where we're at. We're loaded tonight. We have got, if you haven't heard it, we got Stacey Dales of the NFL Network, Mark Schofield, SB Nation, live up in Green Bay, coming out of the Packers locker room in the practice facility from a little bit earlier today. Mike Clemens is going to be here at the bottom of the hour. In about 10 minutes, you're going to hear Stacey Dales. So we got a lot coming up. A lot coming up today. By the way, speaking of that, your show today, Grant, was it the spirited debate as to whether or not this is actually a rivalry again?
No, it was a lot of Giannis stuff because there were a couple things this afternoon and that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I got lots of calls on it. I started the show with it. I'm like, well, I had some Packers stuff, little Brewers, and we had an NFL guest too, but we took a bunch of Giannis calls at the start of the second hour. So I think it's nothing new. It's like he's having discussions. It's like, okay.
Well, who reported that today?
Shams
Charania. Oh, there you go. This guy has got whenever Giannis's name is mentioned, he has no pants on.
Well, and I don't get it. It's like they've started conversations. Well, I thought they started conversations. They're always having conversations. Like none of this is new.
Right.
And then Doc came out with a hard deny. Clemens sent us that audio,
Right.
Doc was like, he's never requested a trade. He wants, I don't know. Which normally I just ignore it, but people were interested in it this afternoon and they wanted to call in and talk about it. So I stayed with it a little bit longer than I probably would have otherwise.
And the thing that pisses me off about Shams, he's just going to keep throwing spaghetti at the wall until one day it sticks and he'll go, see, I told you so. He has been wrong for 2 years now.
Yeah. And Windhorst did an appearance, I guess, on ESPN Cleveland, which is that audio is going around. And at the end of that clip, he's like, well, Giannis appears committed this year, but a lot of people think he'll be gone next year. It's like, so do we just keep kicking this down the road, huh? Like, yeah, eventually you might be right, but you guys never have anything. You're just giving us the calendar.
Year, it's been 2 years since Shams Charania started reporting that there are talks and Giannis is unhappy considering his future. It's like, just shut up. They just can't get enough of talking about Giannis, and he has to throw it out there all the time, and he has been wrong every damn time. He's a worthless POS, in my opinion, as far as a reporter goes, because whoever he's getting his information from, he runs with it. It's been wrong every time, or it has been minimal at best. And that way, because he was all in on going to New York. His guy was going to push him out. And then I texted a friend of mine with the Bucks, and he said, no, that Shams is full of crap. And nothing happened. Now here we go. The trade deadline. Giannis is scrubbing social media because he wants to pay attention to basketball. Remember when he's running down the court yelling, "This is my city. I'm Milwaukee's mine" or something. everybody glossed over that. He wants to be here. He just wants to win. And whatever they've put together, it hasn't necessarily worked, but we'll see.
It was working 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And Doc, it's funny. Doc said that in his presser. It's like, hey, guys, 3 weeks ago we were winning. Everyone thought, what an awesome team.
Yep.
Giannis gets hurt. They lose some games. And if they start playing better, I think this is dead in 2 weeks from now. Right. Would be my guess.
So that's been the talk, but I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll go off tomorrow on Sham Sharnia. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a break. Going to come back. Stacey Dales, NFL Network. Great stuff. Great stuff. Love having her on all the time. Fantastic stuff. It is the Bill Michaels Huddle on this Wednesday night. Kick back, relax, enjoy yourself. Get ready as Bears Weeks is now officially underway as the teams are back in the practice field. More of the Bill Michaels Huddle next.
Let we go. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Want to remind you, Green and Gold postgame show going to be live. Merkel's Sports Bar and Grill. We're going to be there this Sunday right after the game. Come on over and say hi. We're going to have the analysis, the reaction, your calls, texts, emails. Mike Clemens live in the locker room, post-game sound, all that kind of good stuff. We're going to be at Burkle Sports Bar and Grill. It's the Green and Gold post-game show live over there at Burkle Sports Bar and Grill coming up on Sunday. We're looking forward to it big time. All right, let's bring her in. Been looking forward to this all day. Stacey Dales of the NFL Network. Stacey, how you doing?
Hey, Bill, doing well. How are you?
I am doing great, which I'm glad to hear that you're going to be on the scene up at Lambeau Field this coming weekend. And you living in Chicago, you know what this rivalry is like. It's been one-sided for quite some time, obviously, but do you get a sense that both fan bases are now completely and thoroughly entrenched and invested in this game coming up on Sunday?
Yeah, this is not a lopsided season, so I think for this to be the first of the matchup between these two historied franchises, Bill, is well explained and well said by you. I mean, here we are in Week 14, and they're finally facing off, and the Chicago Bears are a half game above them in terms of this playoff race, and they're the number 1 seed, and Packers are currently the number 6 seed, but that's how close this NFC race is. It's actually wildly close. So every game here on out matters, but it especially matters because it is the oldest rivalry in football. No two teams have played more than the Packers and the Bears. And I think what's interesting, a stat that I pulled out of our research packet, this is just the second time that these teams have faced off in the Super Bowl era, the Bears and the Packers, in which both teams entered 5 or more games above 500.
Wow.
So my point being, that's how good both of these teams are this year specifically. And then you add all the, fodder and sort of, gamesmanship that will go on all week as we build up to this thing. The excitement is real. I think I heard you say anxiety. The anxiety is real for Packers and Bears fans because it's going to be quite a matchup. The best game of the week, really, this Sunday.
What do you see? I mean, it's easy to point to the turnovers that the Bears defense has garnered, and it's easy to point to the run game. What, though, if there's something else there, what has Ben Johnson done in Chicago that has basically turned this thing around for that franchise?
Well, he's a great coach, and he's got the quarterback, Caleb Williams, in his second season managing it, which isn't a bad thing. Caleb loves big moments, so when the lights get brighter, he gets brighter. But what's kind of interesting, and one other storyline, because you mentioned the turnovers and the takeaways and all that mumbo stuff, because it's real. I mean, the Bears lead the league with 26 takeaways, and the Packers have the fewest. They've got 7 giveaways this season, and Jordan Love has been particularly good taking care of the football. But what's interesting when you think of turnovers, Bill, is the Bears have 80 points off of those takeaways, which is second in the league. So, every team talks about protecting the ball against Chicago, but if they don't protect it, Chicago's capitalizing on those mistakes. So that'll be huge. But I think another big storyline, and it's a fun storyline, is that the Bears, very surprisingly lead the league in big plays. They have 94 big plays this season. What are big plays? Hey, that's 20 yards down the field in terms of a throw. That's 10 or more yards in terms of a rush. They've got a ton of big play rushes. Their run game is second best in the league, but the Packers have been outstanding defense. They've only given up 51 big plays. That's the fewest in the league behind Denver, and I think you would agree Denver has a pretty damn good defense. Mm-hmm. So big plays are going to be huge because Caleb breaks that pocket or hands it off, and all of a sudden, offensive line that's not only smart, but they're really strong physically. They're moving people, they're displacing people, and they do it in a variety of schematic forms in terms of their blocking schemes, which can be hard to discern if you're a defensive front. So I think these big plays are a big deal, and I think, if you can limit those, if you're the Packers defensively on Sunday, you've got a pretty good, plan going into it because that's kind of what Chicago thrives off of.
It's a long story, but I was approached this morning by some fans that wanted to know basically where the Packers going to win. And they've got an anxiety to it, as I had mentioned. The Packers, and we've been taking calls today on this. The Packers started off really good, looked impressive, then faltered. You got Cleveland. You had what happened in Dallas, the mismanagement of the clock down the stretch. You lose to Carolina. And then they started to put it all back together, wherein they go into New York and they get a win, and then they get the solid win over the Steelers. And then they really kind of held their own against Minnesota. They get a win on Thanksgiving Day. Are you to the ability right now where if you look at the Packers, you go, okay, now I trust them?
Yeah, I've always trusted them this season. I was at that Cleveland game. That was a huge surprise for me, standing on the field against the Browns, where their defense won the game. I just felt like the Packers, maybe early in the season, there's inconsistency. Bill Belichick is famous for saying football starts after Thanksgiving. The Packers have won 3 in a row. I was there on Thanksgiving in Detroit. I watched Jordan Love tie his career high with 4 passing touchdowns in a very hostile environment. Detroit has become one of the best in the league, and especially on Thanksgiving. It's a prideful moment for Lions fans and the Lions players. I think they're playing more consistently. I think Christian Watson back in the lineup has helped replace a bit of the void of Tucker Kraft being lost for the season, who was playing as the best tight end in the NFL prior to his injury, unfortunately. And I just think that the Packers, they have such an array of receivers. I mean, you look at Dontavian Wicks, who kind of went off with his best game of the year in Detroit this past game last week on Thursday. And, a run game that I never give up on. We obviously saw Emmanuel Wilson come alive a little bit prior to, when Josh Jacobs was injured. And I think Josh Jacobs was still and will be one of the best in the league, one of the best in the game. So I'm a believer in the Green Bay Packers. Their offensive line is always stout. They don't give up a bunch of sacks. And their defense is their bread and butter. I will maintain that. I mean, Micah Parsons we knew how important it was when they got him. And we know what a game wrecker he is. But the fact that he leads the NFL with quarterback pressures, but what's more interesting about him is the combo blocks and the double teams he draws and the ones he beats. He's the only player in the NFL with 20 or more, a percentage of 20 or more quarterback pressure percent, facing 20 or more double team percent in the same season, if that makes sense. So
no, I get
20+%. So you're sitting right around, he's getting double teamed, I would say, in terms of quarterback pressures, about 21% of the time. And that's a lot. That's a big number. And he's beating them. He's defeating these combo blocks. You can't block the guy. And Jeff Hafley moves him all over the formation. So he's a problem, and it has allowed other guys to, as they call it, eat. Obviously, losing Devontae Wyatt is substantial, and he was having his best season, playing his best football. But I think Micah Parsons up there continues to distort things with a really good linebacker core, and as Ben Johnson said, the 2 best safeties he thinks in the NFL.
Jordan Love, we've seen him make some inexplicable throws that were bad, for lack of a better term. We see him up close, almost in a microcosm, more often than most of the rest of the world does. They just look at his statistics and say, wow. But is Jordan Love, has he ascended as well to the point where you're going, yeah, this guy's got something special? Because we all want to compare him to Favre and Rodgers and kind of statistically speaking, but does he have that when you sit down and watch him, Stacey, and you get a chance to talk to him? Does he have that it?
I think he's a special player. I think that the players around him love him. I think the offensive line performs for him. I still think it's going to take time with him. Like any young, we say I say young because he's only, he sat and watched Aaron do it for several years and finally got his chance. But I really love Jordan. I'm a big Jordan Love fan just because of, I think he's very, I know people question, okay, he drifts a little bit and throws off his back foot. So what's his platform like? But, he's protected the ball this season, and the team's victories, 18 passing touchdowns to 1 interception. It's where he's been pressured. And the good news for him is the Bears don't pressure but 29% of the time, which is 28th in the league. But when he has been pressured, which is not unusual for most quarterbacks, is when he has struggled. I mean, he has a 55 passer rating under duress this season. When he's not, a 126 passer rating. But what I like is, and you can talk about the stats all you want, but he's good at every depth of the field. So whether he's throwing downfield, when I look at Patrick Mahomes, and he can throw he's got a cannon for an arm. He can throw a beautiful 50-yard dart to somebody on, whoever it may be on his, on his roster. And he makes it look easy. Like Jordan has that ability, but he can also do it at the intermediate level, and he can also hand it off. And I think he's willing to do what Matt LaFleur wants always, which I was most pleased, I will tell you, on Thanksgiving, when Matt LaFleur went for it on 4th down, and they were 3 of 3 on 4th down.
Right.
I was like, you're going to go do that on the road? Good for you. That was some high-end football from LaFleur and his quarterback, Jordan Love. And when you're playing that aggressive, I think you win games because they protect it naturally. So, I think he's playing his best football right now.
Statistically speaking, I look at this game and I say, well, the Packers defense is ranked in the top 10 in almost every category. Their offense is firing on all cylinders for the most part. They're going to get some guys back. Their offensive line is finally going to go cohesive, and they got a really good quarterback. I look at the Bears and I say, Caleb's not great. His completion percentage isn't great, but he is protecting the football to a certain extent, and they can run the hell out of the football and they get turnovers. Statistically, which way would you lean in this contest then coming into the game on Sunday?
If you said to me the Bears don't have the number 2 rushing offense in football, I would say Packers. But because of the Bears' rushing attack and therefore the ability for still this quarterback to figure out where he's going downfield with the ball, like Caleb he has the worst completion percentage in the NFL. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's just such an anomaly in terms of he's one of these mobile quarterbacks, but he evades sacks, and it's so taxing on a defense. And every now and then, one of these downfield, you saw it on Friday, on Black Friday, to Cole Kmet, that touchdown, remember, against the Eagles. And he just floated it right over the defense. I don't know if it was a blown coverage. I'd have to go back and look. But everyone, now and then, he's got one of those throws that connect. It's one of those big plays. So because of this run game, it does open up the pass game, and he's a part of that run game because of his legs. There's no quarterback in the NFL that, in terms of, he's only been sacked 19 times, Bill, but he has faced 33 unblocked pressures where he has not been sacked. That's the most in the league. What does that mean? That means he feels the pressures coming, and he's getting out of there. And those pressures aren't accounted for maybe perhaps by his offense. And so they're doing a good job, but he's also doing a good job avoiding that pressure. And if there's any coach you talk to, they'll talk about that with Caleb. So it's his legs, it's Monungai's, it's Swift's. And I think that's the equalizer in this game against a really good defense. I think the Packers have one of the best defenses in the league.
Always love talking to you, Stacey. I look forward to seeing you up at Lambeau Field and in a couple of weeks back down at Soldier Field. Give the puppies a hug for me, and then we will talk again on Sunday, okay?
All right. Stay warm. See you then.
There you go. That's Stacey Dales of the NFL Network joining us for a couple of minutes. Always great to talk to Stacey. Pick her brain a little bit, and always great content. And a lot of things came out of that, statistically speaking, when you talk about this rivalry and specifically the Green Bay Packers. We'll talk a little bit more in depth with the guy that's coming out of the locker room. That is Mike Clemens. He now joins us coming up next in the Bill Michaels Huddle.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Want to remind you, in a couple of weeks, we are going to be live down in Chicago at the Sheridan Grant Riverwalk in the Shy Bar, immediately following the Packers and the Bears. And it'll be a late night, but the Green and Gold postgame show on Saturday night going to be live at the Shy Bar, which is where we are going to be stationed after the Packers host, or I should say the Bears host the Green Bay Packers. Myself, Mike Clemens, going to be down there in Chicago for that one as well. So, come on by and say hi. Speaking of Mike, we got Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline right now. Mike, how you doing today, man?
Okay, Bill, can we have one of those meetings on the air here?
Sure, go ahead.
So with the game going to Saturday night now and the 7:25 kick, how does that affect us? Are we staying like a second night in downtown Chicago or something like that?
We're down there both Friday night and Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can do our all-nighter down there in the loop after the post-game show.
We're good to go, yeah.
All right. Good. Yeah, this is the life we lead, folks. He's on the road all the time. I'm up here in Green Bay, hanging out with the players and coaches in the locker room, and we discuss our business and do laundry while we're on the air. It's an 18-hour. I spend 18 hours a day trying to figure out how Brian Gutekunst spent his 15-hour day, and one of the decisions he's got to make is what's going on with Jaden Reed, who broke a collarbone catching that touchdown pass early in the season in the north end zone, had been dealing with a foot injury, didn't have much of a training camp, didn't have much of a start of the season, but now, he got back on the practice field officially last week. He looked really good today, and I didn't get to see him, laying a shoulder pad into guys, because I think that's the biggest thing is that bone ready to be tackled? or to throw a block, that collarbone injury. And LaFleur said, was asked, if you could get Jaden Reed out there, the way Christian Watson is playing now, the way Dontavian Wicks played in that big game in Detroit, and the Dobbs has still been pretty reliable. Yeah, you're missing Tucker Kraft. But what does it mean if you could get a healthy Jaden Reed back there at wide receiver, in that those positions that he plays, whether he's returning kicks or an H-back or in the slot or whatever, on your offense?
Shoot, number one, he's got a ton of experience, and you guys see how we've used him in the past in regards to moving him all over the place. There's a lot of things that he brings to our team. He's a yak machine. He really does a really good job, whether it's handing him the ball, flipping him a screen, getting him downfield in a pass concept. He does a really good job after the catch. But I think it's all the little things that he does when he's not playing with the football in regards to the dog mentality he brings to our offense. He's always doing a lot of the dirty work, digging out safeties, just competing to the highest level.
The use of Jaden Reed will be nice. He's a really good route runner, and he does a lot of things downfield. But also, Mike, he's a guy that he's a little almost like a scat back when he gets the ball. He's tough to bring down, and he also picks up yards after the catch.
Smart, alert, and what's funny is that there's so many. He's such a utility guy that there's not that many times where he's just running down the field, running a route. There's so many things that they want to do when they try and do that motion thing, when they try and set up plays that is it a pass? Mm-hmm. Is it a run to the running back? No, it's Jaden Reed, coming around. And so Jordan Love was asked, all right, now Jordan got to see him in the 11-on-11. That's when they kicked us out. We were there for 4 periods. So we stayed in there, 28 degrees, about the temperature it'll be, during the game on Sunday at Lambeau Field at 3:25. But what did you see, with Jaden Reed, number 11, who's great at yards after the catch? How did he look back at practice today?
He's looked good, man. He's looked, obviously, like we said, he's been putting work on the side to be able to get back, and having him back out there at practice has been it's been nice. So we all know what he's capable when he's on the field, and like you said, the things he does when he gets the ball in his hands, when just a playmaker, just a real dynamic playmaker. So we've been missing that. It'll be nice to hopefully get him back.
The one good thing about Reed not being there, and again, I don't ever wish anybody to get hurt, but the fact that you've seen other players that have stepped up at the wide receiver position. You look at a guy like Dontavian Wicks, who you've talked about for a long time, Mike. You look at him in practice, he's hard to cover. He's a really good route runner. He's done a lot of things really, really well. And then he's coming off of a game in which he just had a hell of a game in Detroit and really kind of stepped up and solidified that wide receiving role.
Those little memories you get on Facebook, hey, you said this 10 years ago. I got a memory that said, who 2 guys that are struggling so far this season and coming out of training camp? Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams. Struggling.
Right.
And now you're wondering, this Dontavian Wicks, who 2 years ago LaFleur said, watch this guy's routes. They're almost as good as Devontae Adams. And then he goes through those. He's been banged up. He's had some injuries. He goes through periods last year where he was dropping the football. And then, man, he looked prime time on Thursday, in Detroit. Jordan Love throws 4 touchdown passes. Jordan starts out the game with some missed throws. And then, some of his other guys were dropping the ball. But Wicks was solid through and then coming up with the clutch play, especially the 4th and 3, from the Detroit 45 to close the game. So Jordan was said, what did you see on the Detroit game tape, and how much, if Dontavian Wicks can play like he did against the Lions, how much could that help your team right now?
I think the stuff he did was just cool to see, and I think that's the work he's put in. But I think more than anything for everybody, it's just everybody's got to be ready whenever that ball comes away to be able to go out there like Wicks did and just capitalize on all those opportunities. I think he's done a great job just staying the course. Where we've talked about it before, we got a lot of receivers that do some really cool things. So obviously it's hard to be able to spread the ball around and get everybody as many touches as they want. But I think for everybody, it's the mindset of just staying staying ready. You know, when you get those ops, go out there and capitalize. And obviously, hopefully Jay Reed gets back. Hopefully, you know, we'll see if MG can get back. But like I said, we've got a lot of guys. So, you know, whenever the ball comes your way, find ways to make those plays and capitalize on it, and you'll get more ops. But it's one of those things where you never know. You never know who's going to have that day. And we talk about Christian doing some really good things. Rome's done some great things all season. So we just got to stay ready and, you know, make those ops when the ball comes your way.
After watching the tape in Detroit, what's the thing you take away from that? I mean, what direction do you think your offense is trending?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from the Detroit game is guys made plays, you know, and that's, I think the difference in that game is, you know, when it mattered most, a lot of fourth down plays, some big time third down conversions, and then, like I said, some big time catches, but guys just making plays, and that's usually the difference in the game. You know, I think we talked about winning the turnover battle and you know, playing clean on not having any turnovers, and that's always a difference. But it just came down to guys making plays and winning those matchups.
Last year, Mike, it was a really close game at Lambeau Field, 24-22 in January. But that was, if we remember correctly, that was the Malik Willis game, because he was the guy that had the majority of passing yards and time and such, and it wasn't necessarily the game for Jordan Love. Willis ended up playing in that game, and they still ended up losing by 2 points, and they really couldn't plate anything in the third quarter, but they ended up kicking 3 field goals in the fourth to make it close. But that being said, these are two drastically different teams coming into this contest this week.
No, you lost to the stinking Bears, who had, you know, fired Matt Eberflus, and then they fired their offensive coordinator, and, you know, they had a assistant to an assistant as the interim head coach, a running backs coach, and you know, they were 5-12 and a rookie quarterback in there, and they were a mess. But, you know, thank you very much for building up the Bears' confidence by losing at home. And as Goody, you know, said at the Combine, hey, we lost our last 3 games. You know, we lost to the stinking Bears. We ended up losing to the Eagles to end our season. And we lost our last 3 games. That's how our season ended last year. We went 1-5 in the NFC North. So, and Christian Watson gets carted off the field with a torn ACL, just running in an open field in the middle of their Lambeau Field in that game. So this might be a little weird for him, you know, in that rematch. But I had a good chat today with Christian Watson, who's really coming on, and that beautiful. I mean, this is what they brought that guy for to Green Bay, that 51-yarder, 6'4". And so I asked him, what's the biggest difference between the Bears defense this season versus the team they faced last January?
I mean, I really just feel like it's just been confidence and execution. I feel like you can definitely, you know, just on tape, you can see the confidence that their defense is playing with. And I mean, they're just executing really well. I mean, when, you know, they get a chance to make a play, they've made them. So, and now they've done a great job attacking the football as well, you know, getting the ball out and everything. So, they've just been playing really sound football.
So you just look like they're on the same page.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure.
You know, the Bears defense made a few changes, you know, with the roster in the offseason, but their assignment, sure, they've got 17 interceptions.
Right.
I mean, they're picking up on takeaways, and they've taken advantage of maybe some bad quarterback play. But they're, you know, Caleb Williams is getting a short field to score and win these games.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, look, they get short fields. Caleb Williams is able to move the sticks with his legs. He's not turning the ball over prolifically, even though his completion percentage is absolutely terrible. But they run the ball. I mean, that's the big thing. And the biggest difference between last year and this year is the fact that they just run the ball. Now, they don't go for it, though, as much as, say, the Lions did and have. So the Packers, you know, kind of look forward to getting, you know, off the field on third down, even though Ben Johnson's got a little bit of Dan Campbell in him.
Yeah, and comes from there. And so we were talking to Hafley about this, about, you know, because of what Dan Campbell's done with the Lions, and even your own head coach, Matt LaFleur, these guys that are using fourth down on offense some more, or the tush-push team in Philadelphia. And we asked Hafley, what's it been like facing teams like the Lions and some of these others that go for it so much on fourth down? How's that change your defensive calls?
Yeah, it makes you think. I think we've been prepared for that now all year. I mean, I think we've faced just a very, very high amount of fourth downs. I mean, people have been trying to get us in the fourth and short and go for it all over the field. We've made some of them pay. We stopped last week. We've stopped others on the minus side of the field this year. It's just kind of become a big trend in football right now, because if you really think about it, if we get a touchback and we start on 35, they're 15 yards away from getting to midfield, right? So at that point, with the ball on the 50-yard line, maybe only after getting one first down. I mean, we gave up like a 59-yard field goal last week and a 53-yard field goal last week, and we gave up 6 points, right? It's starting to become easy to kick a 60-yard field goal. So now you got to say, okay, I'm at the 50. Am I in 4-down territory? So we got to kind of call the game accordingly. So this 3rd and 7 really becomes 2nd and 7 because they know they're going to go for it on 4th down. So what you're seeing, and we've talked about it all year, 3rd and 7, we're starting to get runs and screens because 3rd and 7 is 2nd and 7 because they know they have one more down to go for it to get them into a manageable 4th down. So yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to 3rd and 7 might not be a pass down, right? It might be we have to play normal football and everybody wants to see us blitz on that down, but there's a good chance we also have to defend the run. So for sure it does. But I think that's kind of the trend right now, just in general around the NFL. A lot of it's the starting field position. One explosive play and you're in field goal territory, So that's a challenge. And, Coach Campbell's done that throughout his time, and I'm sure he'll continue to do that. Last time we played him, I think 2 times ago, I mean, it was the most 4th downs I've ever seen.
Mike, real quick before we go to break, there's the question is, has this rivalry in any way, shape, or form lost its luster? And to fans, especially with teams being competitive, it has not. Do you get the sense that this is a big one inside that locker room?
Oh, it's fresh. The rivalry is fresh. It starts off with Ben Johnson and that crack that he made that, you played on the show earlier today, which cracks me up every time. Like, hey, and I get to beat Matt LaFleur twice a year. It goes back to that Lovie Smith thing, 20 years ago. That, there's 3 things you're going to do, and number 1 is beat the Green Bay Packers. So, oh yeah, it's absolutely there. And even if you're a rookie, within 5 minutes of the game, you're going to feel it. You're going to know it. And Love is into it. Love is even wondering, hey, maybe this could be, between Caleb Williams and Jordan Love, kind of a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady thing for the foreseeable future in the NFC North, right?
Right. Well, the Packers certainly have dominated it. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. More of the Bill Michaels Huddle. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline. Don't go anywhere. We'll pick up where we left off and go back to Green Bay next.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Love the Hooters. The band. Hell yeah. Nervous Night. Oh, what a good tunage. Good
All
tunage.
types of Hooters are good, not just the band. All types.
Well, all of them, yeah. Don't I know it? That being said, Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline live up in Green Bay, fresh out of Lambeau Field, the locker room and stuff. We're going to hear a lot from Mike tomorrow as well in some of the interviews that he's done. But that being said, Mike, obviously Bears week, and we had talked about the intensity and the rivalry and what guys were thinking about this. And then, down in Chicago, they are not necessarily thinking about this playing with house money. They're thinking you come up here, you beat the Packers, then you are going to win the division and head off as a number one seed in the postseason.
Yeah, and their confidence is flying high after that Eagles game, and even though they're on the road of a 5-game winning streak. Now, Ben Johnson is pumping the brakes, though, in terms of, that chatter and bulletin board material between him and the Packers and LaFleur and the Bears and Packers rivalry and all that. You know why? Because he's been watching Micah Parsons' defense. And he knows he's got a lot on his plate to try and beat this Packers defense. But he talked about what's the significance of a 24-15 win over the Eagles in Philly in prime time on Friday night.
What message do you think this sends about your team?
I think it's the same message we've been sending every week, that we're just going to compete our tails off for 60 minutes. I think that's what I know about our group. They got a lot of belief in what we're doing. They got a lot of belief in themselves. They got a lot of belief, I think, in this coaching staff. And so that confidence just starts to develop and continue to bubble over. So I think we've got a really confident group right now, and we're excited for these next 5 games.
What about their ability to kind of stay in the moment?
No, I think that's once again, that's a credit to the coaching staff, just trying to keep the main thing. I think it's a credit to our leadership too. I got guys like Grady Jarrett and Byard on defense, and Joe Tooney. Like, these guys, they all know what good football looks like, and they know the consistency that it takes to continue to win in this league. And so it's easy for those young guys to come to work it every day and just look at how these old heads are going about their business, and you just kind of fall in line. And so it's the same thing. There's no secret, man. There are no shortcuts. We got to go out next week and put in the same amount of work that we've been doing, and we got to continue to get better. We're still not at what we're capable of being yet as an entire team. And so we're going to continue to strive to put that full 60 minutes, the 3 phases of complete football together. But these guys continue to get better each and every week, and I'm really proud of them.
Mike, the guy that looks better, his numbers aren't great, but Caleb Williams, with Ben Johnson's tutelage, certainly has been a better quarterback this season.
Yeah, and his head coach and play caller in Ben Johnson, as the game flows against the Eagles, they get into that running game, and they got that thing, in rhythm. And to get DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monange to go both over 100 yards, that takes the pressure off of the quarterback. That adds to the credibility of your play action. And Caleb says, does your offense in that huddle, do you guys feel like each week you're getting better as a team?
I come in every single week and we work our tail off as a group, and myself included, and I want to maximize every single thing. That's why I get frustrated. That's why, my frustration, comes about, because, I have such a talented group, whether it's, the whole team, really, special teams, defense. But speaking on offense, we have such a talented group and special group. And, we got guys that really care. And so we can do something special for Chicago. And, the frustration comes in just because, you want to maximize. You don't want to waste time. You don't want to waste, a year or anything like that. And that's why that's why I get up every day. And so we haven't hit our pinnacle yet in the sense of a team and execution on offense. And we're still winning these games. And so that's really important. And that's why I'm extremely excited. But, you go watch the film and you see all these explosive plays. You see all these small details that show up that are awesome to learn from after the game. But in the moment, you want to hit those. You want to, have these moments and just hit on all cylinders. So that's coming, and we're going to show our best ball here soon.
Mike, obviously, they played each other again in 2 weeks. I get that. But who's got more pressure on them to win this game? Matt LaFleur and his Green Bay Packers, or the Bears and Ben Johnson?
Green Bay. You're at home, and, Ben Johnson's in his first year. And Matt LaFleur's, where he's at right now. He's got a new boss. And the other thing to think about is this, Jaden Reed might be back this week. Matthew Golden was out there, looked pretty good. Quay Walker, linebacker's been out with that neck stinger last couple of weeks. He was practicing today. Carl Brooks, that can help with the problems with Devontae Wyatt being out for the season with the fractured ankle. They signed a kid off of the Giants. The Giants are deep at defensive line. Jordan Riley off of their practice squad to help add to that depth there. And Nate Hobbs, the Raider, the defensive back they spent so much money for in the spring, he's back now practicing after knee surgery earlier this year. But it looks like Lucas Van Ness, Savion Williams, who's done such a nice job on end runs and on kickoff returns, they are still not participating. But you're going to get those other guys back. And Will Shepherd, I know that the team is very high on that kid. Like, if they lose, say, like a Romeo Dobbs next year in free agency, that they would like to think that Will Shepherd could win one of those jobs roster spots next summer in training camp. He re-signed. He circled back around, and he's back on the Packers practice squad after clearing waivers.
Great stuff. Mike, appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later in the week, okay?
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it, bro.
Great stuff out of Green Bay. Great stuff out of the Packers locker room. That's our guy, Mike Clemens. Coming up next, we'll take a look around at the NFL. Mark Schofield, SB Nation, NFL analyst, is going to join us. Don't go anywhere. We are rolling into hour number 2 of the Bill Michaels Huddle right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Jordan Love was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week today. And for the second time this season, Love was on fire against Detroit on Thanksgiving, throwing 4 touchdowns, posting a 124.2 quarterback rating. It was the first time in his career where he threw 4 touchdowns and did not have an interception. In his third year as a starter, he's really cut down on giving the ball away, has just 3 interceptions through 12 games after throwing 11 in each of the last 2 full seasons. Coach Matt LaFleur was asked about Love's cutback in turnovers.
I think there's a lot of factors in regards to that question, to be honest with you. And you almost have to go through all the plays and all the tape. And I think he has done a pretty good job of showing just, number one, throwing on in the rhythm and the timing of the play, but showing the ability to progress. And sometimes even throw it away when it's not there instead of trying to force it down the field.
Love and the Packers getting ready for a visit from Chicago on Sunday. Going to be a matchup between the teams that turn the ball over the fewest in Green Bay and the ones that force the most turnovers. The Bears kick us up for 325. Turning to Wisconsin, it is National Signing Day for them. Among the key players in the class is 3-star quarterback Ryan Hopkins out of Southern California. Chose the Badgers over a double-digit number of offers, including UCLA and Washington.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, Wisconsin will open Big Ten play tonight as Northwestern visits the Kohl Center. Badgers have lost 2 of 3 coming in. Tip is at 8. And the Bucks are home tonight to face the Pistons at Fiserv Forum. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Are you ready for some football? He talks green and gold. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels.
Welcome in the Huddle on a Wednesday night. We are underway. Hour number 2. Yeah. Absolutely. By the way, we'll get to Mark Schofield coming up here momentarily,
but Mike Clemens alluded to it on the injury report. Carl Brooks, back at it, limited with that ankle. Javon Bullard, same thing, limited with the ankle. Edrin Cooper has had the shoulder, but was limited, has the shoulder issue. You've got Matthew Golden with the wrist. He was back at practice today, still limited, but back at practice. Same thing with Nate Hobbs, same thing with Josh Jacobs. Marshawn Lloyd was back today. Now, he's now eligible in this designated window to return from the IR. So he's going to be a while, but he was back at there's a Marshawn Lloyd sighting back at practice today. We know that Jordan Love is nursing that shoulder, that AC joint, but he's going to play. He's had that left shoulder issue, and he was a full participant today. Also, the Jaden Reed, who's been practicing the last few weeks, he's getting ready to come off of the IR. There is a lot of thought with that foot issue that he had the surgery on, the shoulder that he had the surgery on, that he's going to be ready to go, that he might make his return for this particular game. Then you've got Baron Sorrell, the defensive lineman. They're going to need him, as a rotational guy maybe in all of this. But he's had an ankle, but he was a little bit limited. Zach Tom, they keep putting him on the list because he's had the back and they're temperamental. He was limited. No Lucas Van Ness today. That foot is still a problem. No Savion Williams today. No Devontae Wyatt today. His season's all but over. And they're just waiting to officially put him on the IR and then change the roster spots out. But you had Dontavian Wicks with the ankle. He was limited today. Quay Walker with that neck stinger. He was back at practice again today, limited. So a huge injury report. But it looks like a lot of guys are going to either be back or be playing in this one. On the other hand, you've got the defensive lineman Andrew Billings, who's in the concussion protocol for the Bears. He was back at practice today, so it looks like he's going to be available for the game. You've got, who else? Monungai has the ankle issue going on, and he did not participate today. I assume he's going to play. We'll wait and see. Rome Odunze, the wide receiver, has a foot issue, did not practice today. So, and Tyreek Stevenson, the defensive back, has a hip that's bothering him. He did not practice today. Everybody else, pretty much full participation for the Bears, and their injury list is not anywhere near as extensive as the Green Bay Packers. So that's the updates on the injuries. Okay, so there you have it. Joining us on the hotline, love talking to him each and every week. Our guy, Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us. Mark, how you doing, man?
I am doing well, Bill. Fantastic to be back with you this week.
There is a ton of anxiety about the game upcoming regarding the Packers and the Bears. This is probably one of the bigger games of the weekend, maybe short of, say, the Lions and the Cowboys, or maybe even the Steelers and the Ravens. This is a big one in terms of supremacy in the NFC, supremacy in the NFC North. So I want to start there. What have the Bears done in your eyes that has gotten them to a 9-3 record and makes them this formidable?
I think one of the things that stands out is the success they've had running the football, particularly in recent weeks. Particularly, you see what they did this past Friday to the Philadelphia Eagles, the way that run game was able to, I don't want to say dominate that game. You look at the fact that they, as a team, ran for the numbers that they did. They were able to sort of salt that game away. 425 total yards, on the road. And that's in a game that, like we talked about last week, though, that was a critical measuring stick kind of game for Chicago, because that's an Eagles team that right now is backs up against the wall. They needed that game at home. And Chicago went in and beat them up. Beat them up front, beat them up on both sides of the ball. I think that's very impressive when you look at, football tends to be this cyclical game, and we've gone through years of the passing game being king, but we've gotten back to an area where we've talked about this before over the past couple of years. Maybe not the run game isn't Ken again, but it certainly helps. And their run game has been extremely formidable. And I think that's going to be a critical part of this game on Sunday, which, like you said, one of, if not the biggest games of the week. These are two very good offenses. You're talking about in Green Bay, number 1 in the league in EPA per play on offense. Chicago, I think, is number 8 or 9. I was just looking at that a few minutes ago. Two very good offenses. What defenses can get off the field? What defenses can get off the field on third down, forcing punts? And then on the other side of the ball, what offense is going to finish drives with touchdowns? That's something we saw from Green Bay on Thanksgiving Day. They had the 2 fourth-down touchdowns. That's been something we've talked about this season with the Packers. Sometimes shooting themselves in the foot when they get down in the red area, when they get down in the low red area. They were able to finish drives against Detroit. Can they do that against Chicago? But for the Bears, that run game has been very impressive and explosive at times. That's certainly what's helped them get this record so far.
I look at this Packers team, and we were talking about this earlier, and all the things that were ailing them earlier in the season have suddenly slowly dissipated away. The play calling has been better. The play action has been better. The penalties have been minimal. They're able to run the football. The offensive line is becoming more solid. Jordan Love isn't making the mistakes. And even though he hasn't really thrown a lot of picks, he's thrown some balls up where it probably wasn't the best of time to throw one up. I think Packers fans, the way we used it a little bit earlier, I don't know if they fully trust it yet. Do you fully trust where the Packers are at right now?
I do, and for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned there, some of the areas where, they've improved, some of the steps that they've taken as a team, both from the offensive and defensive side of the ball. You mentioned, the play action passing game. That's certainly been a strength in the past couple of weeks. That's certainly been a strength of Love this year. The success he's had, the average depth of target, 4th in the NFL on play action concepts. They're able to generate not just completions, but explosive plays. And, explosive plays are kind of the in vogue item in the NFL right now, where you want to generate them both in the pass game, the run game. They're generated through the play action passing game. He's thrown, I believe, 6 touchdown passes on play action concepts this year, which is a pretty big number. So I think I do trust it. And I think also what we've talked about in recent weeks with respect to the Green Bay Packers is, and this is not just Packers specific, but NFL specific, this is the time of year as we get past Thanksgiving and towards, December and playoff time, when you want to have sorted those things out. I remember a week ago we had the conversation of, are the teams just are what they are right now, or is there still time to improve? And when we had that conversation, it was right around Halloween. And I said, look, there's still time to improve, but we're getting close to being finished products. They've improved in that stretch in these key areas, like you mentioned, since we had that initial conversation. That's reason for optimism. And I understand, why Packers fans, you're worried about this game. I get it. Huge game. You're worried about, is this to be believed? I get it. Nothing's clinched yet. So until it's clinched, you're not satisfied. But given the progress they've made in recent weeks, given some of the concerns that they perhaps minimized, like penalties, given some of the steps they've taken forward, red zone, finishing drives and touchdowns, things we've talked about over the past couple of weeks, I think those are reasons to believe, and those are reasons to be optimistic ahead of what is, yes, a huge game.
I look at this Packers defense, and without Devontae Wyatt up front, I don't know specifically how they're going to stop the run game. And the offensive line for the Bears is rated number 1, and they're tremendous in the trenches. I don't know how they're going to stop the run game of the Chicago Bears. I think the best defense the Packers can put up is going to be their offense. If they can get up a couple of scores and force the Bears to throw the football consistently, that's the way to win the game. How do you see the Packers winning this game?
Yeah, I think you're right in that stopping the run, which, as we talked about, that's one of the things Chicago does extremely well. Stopping the run is going to be tough without Wyatt. I think you're looking at a scenario where Hafley's going to have to bring extra bodies into the box. And when the Bears have the football, make Caleb Williams beat you. It's sort of that old Belichick. I always remember, when he was in New England, always had that mantra of taking away what you do best as an offense. when you're putting together a defensive game plan. If you have to bring down extra bodies and really sort of, I don't want to say just sell out to stop the run, but that's where you dedicate your resources from an X's and O's, drawing it up on the whiteboard perspective. I think that's where you start. But I do think that you're right. Ultimately, in a game like this, with what you're facing in that run game and what you're lacking without Wyatt, the best defense might be a good offense. And getting a couple of scores up early, forcing them to be one-dimensional, because then, look, go ahead. If you're up 2 scores, you're up 3 scores, go ahead and run the ball to your heart's content. Have 15-play drives. It's going to take you forever to get back in this game, and you won't be able to do it. So I do think that, look, in an ideal world, they get up early and force Caleb Williams to beat you, not just from a X's and O standpoint, because you're loading the box and forcing them to throw and taking away the run game, but because of a game script standpoint, because they have to throw to score quickly or try to score quickly to get back into a game where they're down 3 scores. So I'd say, look, plan A, you get up early, you force them to throw. Plan B, if it's you can't get up early and it's a 1-score game, well, you might have to load the box a bit and stop the run and hope that Caleb Williams doesn't beat you over the top in those situations and moments.
Some other big games this weekend, and it starts on Thursday night. Tomorrow night, the Cowboys, who are one of the hotter teams in football right now, 6-5-1. They've climbed above 500, and they take on the Lions, who just lost to the Packers at home, who are 7-5. And you got one team ascending, another team descending, and I've used that a lot today in a lot of different scenarios. But give me your thoughts on where the Cowboys are and the trend for the Lions, because the Lions don't seem to be the same because their offense just seems to be stagnant.
They don't. I mean, and it's sort of summed up with the fact that you ask Frank Ragnow to come out of retirement. He says he could go and he's dealing with a grade 3 hamstring tear. That, Bill, I joked about it on social media. Like, I would have been telling the family where to find the will if I had a grade 3 hamstring tear, not saying I could block Quentin Williams on Thursday Night Football. But that's where they're at. They're very banged up on the offensive line. And trying to get Ragnow back speaks to that. Amon-Ra hasn't practiced yet, so the short week probably not going to be able to go. This is a playoff game for these two teams, and I think the way you framed it, one's trended up and ascended, the other's trended down and descended. That's where those two teams are at right now. Detroit just has that injury issue, almost like they had last year. Now it's more on the offensive side of the ball. We've talked about Jared Goff and where he was successful against pressure earlier in the year. That was probably because he wasn't pressured as much. Now with the offensive line woes, he's getting pressured more. It's more consistent. It's more in his face. And you're seeing the production of those moments dip. They're getting behind in score, so they're having to throw more. And you don't have Amon-Ra. You can't protect Goff as well. The pressure statistics, like we talked about, that's where the Lions are right now. They're fighting uphill. And it's hard to see this turn it around. And then you get a Dallas team, like you said, they're on their way up. That offense is so explosive. Lamb and Pickens, they look so explosive. And that defense, while still not great, has gotten better. And as we talked about last week, they can stop the run a little more because they're getting in more manageable situations. So I really like Dallas in that game. And, if you would have told me a couple weeks ago, that I would have picked Dallas in this game Thursday night, I would have said there's absolutely no way. Look at how bad they are. But I think with where these two teams are right now, you have to like Dallas and their chances on Thursday night.
The other big one on the docket, Pittsburgh, with Aaron Rodgers all beat up, goes into Baltimore. And these two teams are 6-6. Cincinnati's going to Buffalo, and Buffalo doesn't seem to be a juggernaut anymore. And Cincinnati, with Joe Burrow back, they're hoping to climb back into it just to maybe have a legitimate shot at possibly even winning the division. But the big one is the Steelers and the Ravens. Whoever wins that game is going to have the upper hand in the AFC North. I don't even know what to make of these two teams at this point. I mean, the Fire Mike Tomlin chants were really, really loud. Rodgers is saying receivers aren't showing up to meetings. Meanwhile, the Ravens really haven't done anything to impress anybody. I thought these two teams would have been really right there with 8-9 wins, and nobody's good in the AFC North.
No, nobody is. I mean, the fact that we're talking about the Bengals, I mean, it's still a slim chance, but they could get back into the mix here. I mean, like you said, they're playing a Buffalo team that certainly hasn't played lights out. They're getting wins, but, they're facing potentially, next week losing the division to the New England Patriots if they lose that game next week. I mean, when it comes to the Steelers and the Ravens, we'll start with Pittsburgh. Rodgers is banged up, trying to get everybody on the same page with his receivers and running backs. Apparently had the ball over last night for ice cream and film watching, which, okay, I hope it worked because, when you get to that point of the season where the quarterback's griping about people not watching film and not being on the same page. Well, we are into December now. You should have sorted that out by now. And if you're still trying to do that, that's not a good place to be in as an offense. That defense, I don't think has been good as people thought it was going to be. And I understand frustration the Steelers fans have with Mike Tomlin. I get it. He coached a very conservative game, some fourth down decisions, and he's been, generally more conservative than we tend to see in the National Football League right now. But it just seems like that's slowly spinning away from them, that entire situation. And with Baltimore, we saw that when Lamar came back, that team was going to be explosive. That offense was going to be explosive. But it just doesn't feel, Bill, like he's completely 100%. When he tries to move, when he tries to run, the explosiveness doesn't seem to be there. And, that's a big part of what they do both in the pass game and the run game. And they still have Derrick Henry. They can still generate big plays here and there, but losing that explosive element with Lamar still seeming banged up, that's held them back a bit. That defense has struggled. Look, somebody, yes, we could get a tie, but somebody's going to win that game and take control of that division, at least for 1 week. But if Cincinnati beats Buffalo, I think you have to look at the Bengals and say, okay, well, with all the concerns you have about the Steelers, with all the concerns you seem to have about the Ravens and the status of Lamar, the Ravens get, the Patriots in a couple of weeks. Maybe the door really is open for Burrow and that team to make this a three-way fight down the stretch.
I want to go to the AFC South. Jacksonville very quietly has taken over the top spot, and they've won 3 straight. The Colts have been a little banged up. Obviously, Daniel Jones has not necessarily played the way he expected, and they've shut down the run game the last couple of defenses, plus he's got the busted up leg. Give me your thoughts, because Jacksonville plays Indianapolis this weekend for the top spot in the AFC South.
Yeah, it does feel like Indianapolis is going to fade here. I mean, like you said, teams have figured out how to stop the run. They put more on Daniel Jones' play. Similar to the Caleb Jones conversation from earlier, Jones is dealing with the, fracture in his leg that he's been able to play through, but, that's limited him. So I think that's going to be an issue for Indianapolis going forward. And, we often talk about, who have you played? Who are you going to play? And for the Colts, they're getting into a very difficult, critical stretch of the season for them, because they've got games two against Jacksonville. They close out the season with Houston, but then they get games against Seattle and San Francisco. They could theoretically lose every game left on their schedule and completely slip out of the playoffs. Jacksonville has been impressive, but I keep coming back to Houston. I mean, that defense, similar to some of what we've said about, what the Broncos are doing right now, that defense is so good. And that's going to keep them in games. And now that they get Stroud back, I do think it's going to end up being Jacksonville and Houston down the stretch fighting for the division, with the other probably getting into the playoffs. And I think the way that Indianapolis has looked in recent weeks and the way their schedule sets up, I strongly believe we're going to see Indianapolis slide out of a playoff spot when it's all said and done.
I kind of feel for you in that specific position as well, because I firmly believe that. I know we're running short on time, but I want to get to a couple more before we get out of here. Obviously, you got a big one coming up this weekend between the Texans and the Chiefs. The Texans, also a team that kind of came out of nowhere. We pretty much left them for dead, and all of a sudden they started winning football games, and the Chiefs feel like they're just foundering at this point. Like that run is over. Maybe they're going to have to reset in the offseason. Give me your thoughts about the Texans going in to take on the Chiefs this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a believer in what Houston's done, started on the defensive side of the ball. That defense is fantastic. It's similar to what we've talked about with the Broncos. You look at Kansas City and, they had the win against Indianapolis to keep their season alive. But, then you lose Thanksgiving Day to the Cowboys. You come back from that. That's tough. And it just seems like it's very disjointed for them on the offensive side of the ball. And it seems like Mahomes is kind of swimming upstream, trying to create, trying to do too much at times like we've seen from him before. And he's not going to be able to get away with stuff like that against this Houston defense. And so obviously a huge game for both teams, but I like Houston in this one.
Yeah, I kind of do too. I think Houston is the team that's kind of like starting to surprise people. And if you can sneak up on somebody, that'd be perfect. It's tough to go into Arrowhead and win, but I agree with you. Real quick, Eagles, what the hell happened to the Eagles? Because they're the same record as the Chargers. It's an AFC team. They got to go on the road to SoFi and win. But the Eagles they look like they've lost themselves.
Yeah, they do look like they've sort of lost their way here. And we talked about Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago. Was this last year's version or the 23 version? It feels like the 23 version, right? Start 10-1, wheels completely come off. There's frustration with the offense, with the play call, and Sirianni sticking by the OC for now. You're hearing rumblings from Lane Johnson, from others, about how the offense is too predictable, the schemes are too predictable, the play calls are too predictable. You look at Jalen Hurts from a spray chart, pass and map standpoint, not really comfortable or not willing to attack the middle of the field. Everything seems to be outside the numbers, which defenses have figured out. So it does feel like this is a season that is slipping out of their control. Maybe they still hang on to the East, but it does, again, feel like that 23 season where they still win a division, or actually that year they fell out of the top place in the East. They go on the road and they lose Tampa Bay in wild card rounds. Maybe they hang on, but it almost feels like they look like a team that's going to be one and done with playoffs if they get in.
Yeah, no doubt. It's always great to talk to you, Mark. Thanks for running through everything with us and all the different scenarios. And we look forward to talking to you again next week, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good ones, especially with the divisional matchups upcoming. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Bill. Enjoy the games this weekend.
You are more than welcome, Mark. Thanks again. I appreciate it. It's always good to get Mark on, kind of join us for a little bit and talk with us every Wednesday and go through the rest of the NFL. When we come back, we get a couple of minutes, so listen to what Jordan Love has to say today, and then we will get into our picks that are sure to go wrong. More of the Bill Michaels Huddle right after this.
Oh, yeah. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels, Huddle. We're rolling tonight. Motoring through it. Bears week. I mean, it's up and running. We're in a Yes, they do. There you go.
We'll have more from inside the locker room tomorrow, but I wanted to get you a couple of minutes. Jordan Love talking to the media. Take a listen.
How big is this game in your mind?
Man, that's a big game. Big game for sure. Obviously, NFC North matchup. And obviously, the Bears #1 in the NFC and top in the NFC North right now. So it'll be a great game. And obviously, again, we got to go out there and handle business.
Jordan, you always hear, it's just another game, but why this one is not, and you guys are embracing it? Why is that?
I think for obvious reasons. Like I said, they're #1 in the NFC. So obviously we haven't played them yet. The only team in the NFC North we haven't seen. So, and two games in 3 weeks. So it'll be a great matchup. They're a good team, and like we've always said, it's that 1-0 mentality. You just handle business this week.
You guys have done a really good job of taking care of the ball, but you're facing a team that does a really good job of taking it away. What have you seen from them, and what is the key to once again consistently taking care of the ball in this matchup?
Yeah, it's something that we've harped on all season. Is we got to go out there and do a great job just protecting the ball, and that's everybody. That's me, the receivers, the running back side, anybody that's carrying the ball. And like you said, they're #1 in the league at creating turnovers and getting interceptions. So I think they do a good job. Their DBs are they're aware of the ball, and they're making plays when it is in the air. So obviously a great group of DBs over there, but it just comes down to us, being smart with decisions and just taking care of it at all times.
Is there anything you found different about this Bears defense than when you faced
last season, you're saying? Yeah, I think obviously new coordinator over there, new defense coordinator. So, kind of similar style, but, I think they are doing a good job. The coverages look pretty good. And like we said before, they're doing a good job at hunting the ball right now and flying around. So they do a lot of stuff, and we'll have to just, prepare this week and see all the looks that we're going to get and go into it with a good game plan.
Your touchdown to Christian last week, you had verticals on both sides. How do you know, and when do you know that you're going to go there? Is that before the snap? Is there something you see after the snap that know that that's the right way to target?
It's just we call it a pick a side. You're just kind of going to your best matchup, who you want to go to, and like you said, you got mirrored routes on both sides, so you just kind of look out, see what you got. And I liked Christian winning down the field right there.
Is there something about how he ran that route that you noticed during the play, or is that okay? I like this matchup before the snap. Like, how does that work?
No, it's all really just like you said, pre-snap, kind of knowing who you got out there, knowing what matchup you got on the other side with DBs, things like that. But it's really one of those things where you just get back and you kind of peek when you get to the top of your drop, see if anybody's just one clean or anything like that. But I just kind of wanted to work Christian, obviously, with a guy with that much speed, and you want to give him a chance down the field, and he did what he needed to do.
You've been doing that a lot more the past couple of weeks. I think he's had 17 targets the last 2 games. Is that intentional on your part with how he's come back
with Christian?
Make sure he gets plenty of targets.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just the way it's gone down. But I think he's been capitalizing on all those ops that he's had. He's done some really good job, made some big time contested catches downfield, and I think he's improved on all that stuff. So I think when the guys making plays, you just kind of keep feeding him. But I think it's just the way some of the plays are playing out too, and some of the opportunities we got with coverage matchups and things like that. But he's capitalizing on all those ops he's got.
How's Jaden looked, and what's going to mean to get him back just from a yards after catch perspective? We should have had a lot of that since tough one out.
He's looked good, man. He's looked obviously obviously, like we said, he's been putting work on the side to be able to get back, and having him back out there at practice has been it's been nice. So we all know what he's capable when he's on the field, and like you said, the things he does when he gets the ball in his hands, when just a playmaker, just a real dynamic playmaker. So we've been missing that. It'll be nice to hopefully get him back.
As you hit this game in the stretch, what are you most confident in about the Packer offense right now?
Yeah, I think we've improved a lot on a lot of things that we've needed to improve on from the earlier games we played, and it's all about just keep stacking, keep focusing on doing our job, and the little details that's going to help keep propelling us. But guys been stepping up and making plays, like I said. O-line's been doing a great job keeping me clean, and the run game obviously I think's been looking better and better. So it's a lot of stuff we've just kind of slowly been improving on, and keep harping on the details and focus on doing our job. But it's trending in the right direction.
Jordan, Matt took a stray from Ben Johnson at his introductory press conference when Ben said, "I enjoyed beating Matt a couple times a year." I know you want to win the game for a lot of reasons, but is there one you want to win it for your coach? And based on what was said?
Nah, we're not worried about those things that are said. It's another game, obviously. The Bears matchup, we're always trying to win that game.
You heard it.
There you go. That's Jordan Love, a little bit of what he had to say in that last question, which I think it was Rob Demoski. He said, hey, your coach kind of took a bullet from Ben Johnson. And they're all playing it down. They're all saying, no, it doesn't matter. This is not, no big deal. Don't worry about it. It's floating through that locker room. It is. But they're all saying the right thing. No, we just got a game to play. We got to go out. They're a rival, blah, blah, blah. But there's some extra juice there. You just know it. You wouldn't be human if you didn't have any extra juice. You got to ask the question. You might expect the answer and get the cliche, but, and that's what Jordan Love is. He's never going to give you bulletin board fodder. That's for damn sure. But we'll hear more from inside the locker room coming up tomorrow on the program. All right, when we come back, the next two segments, you know what they are. Our picks around the NFL, sure to go wrong. It's coming up. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Huddle coming up right after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The Bill Michaels Huddle and our picks provided by Point Brewing. Brewing excellence since 1857. Point Brewing going to have all kinds of good stuff in your holiday, whether it's the Amber Lager, Drop Dead Blonde, Pale Ale, whatever it happens to be, the Snow Pilot, or even some of the sodas for the kids. So they've got something for everybody, and it's based right here in Wisconsin. Stevens Point, Wisconsin. That is Point Brewing. Brewing excellence since 1857. There you go. You know what the music means. Picks sure to go wrong.
Not great, Bill.
Nope.
So actually last week relatively wasn't that bad. You had 6-16, I had 7-16. We missed on a half point because the Cardinals couldn't cover. I got the Packer game, which made me happy. We both got Dallas right. That was satisfying. That would have been an easy one to miss. So I don't think it was a complete and total lost week. You're at 44% I'm on the year. I'm at 48%. So we're right there. I mean, we're right. It's right in front of us.
Yeah. So's being homeless.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
Yep. You were.
All right, let's do it because tomorrow night we got a big game to start us off.
So I haven't combed over the entire slate, but a quick glance, I think this might be my favorite game of the week, or the one I'm most excited for. Dallas is in Detroit. Detroit trending down, Dallas trending up. Lions are 3-point favorites at home, which basically means this is a pick 'em. This is a coin flip game.
Dak Prescott, 320 yards, a couple of touchdowns. By the way,
ball.
The most in the NFL, in most of the NFL history on Thanksgiving Day, his fourth career Thanksgiving game with 300 plus yards, he tied Matthew Stafford, who we kind of figured because he played for a long time for the Lions, and the other guy, never would have guessed this, Tony Romo.
Yeah, I suppose.
Tony Romo. I mean, you had to figure it was a Dallas Cowboy or John Lion, but I didn't think Romo would have been the guy. I would have guessed like Troy Aikman or something.
Small take, we can move past quickly. I think Romo was overrated when he played. I think maybe now underrated in hindsight, the way that he's remembered now. He was a pretty darn good quarterback.
I am, by the way, my pick, I'm going to go with the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions at home. They have got to win. They are in a little bit of a free fall, and they have got to win. They got to run the ball. They've got to be able to stop what the Cowboys are doing. And the one thing the Lions don't have is a secondary capable of playing man up with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. But they have got to win. And if they lose again at home, it is going to be mass mutiny. I get the Lions at home.
You talked me into it. I like the Lions. I think the Lions are still good. People are leaving the Lions for dead. I think they're good. I think the Cowboys are good too, but I think they've been maybe playing a little bit over their skis. We'll see. I can't wait to enjoy this game, and I don't even really have a rooting interest. I can't wait for tomorrow night. To the noon games on Sunday. Seattle is in Atlanta. I hate the Falcons. I can't wait for the season to be done just so I don't have to try to guess what this stupid team is going to do on a weekly basis. Seattle on the road, favored by 7.
I'll take Seattle. Kirk Cousins, not good. 3 touchdowns a pick. And still swing it, but look, they've got Bijan Robinson, who is vastly underrated as a running back. He's already got almost 1,600 yards from scrimmage this year. But Jackson Smith and Jigba's the man. I'm taking Seattle on the road, and just that's all there is to it.
I am as well. Because if the Seahawks lay an egg, whatever, I'll sleep well at night.
Right.
If I pick the Falcons and they lose by 30, I'll hang myself off the roof of this building. So to the next game, Cincinnati at Buffalo. Cincinnati got a little something to play for. The Bills at home favored by 5.5.
I can't pick Cincinnati. As much as Joe Burrow's return gives everybody, and you're going to get T. Higgins back because remember, he was out this last week with the concussion issue. I believe he's back. So you still got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase Brown running the football, who's got 700 yards from the line of scrimmage this year, and that's fantastic running. But the Buffalo Bills, this is another one. They got to have it. Cincinnati's got to have it, but they only have 4 wins. I don't believe in their defense. Buffalo has to get healthy at home. Otherwise, this is the beginning of the end of their window being wide open. Buffalo 8-4. They got to go to 9-4 at Highmark. I'm taking the Bills.
Something that a lot of people don't talk about. Buffalo's the best rushing team in the league. And the fact that Josh Allen can make some plays, I just feel like
Cook's fantastic. He's got almost 1,250 yards.
They should be able to control this game, even if it's not pretty against the Bengals, in my opinion.
But
outdoor in the elements, I'll take the Bills.
If I had to say who's the number 1 wide receiver with the Buffalo Bills, would you know?
Is it Khalil Shakir?
It is. Good guess.
Charch's guy.
Yeah, Charch's guy. That's it. I wouldn't.
That's the only reason I know who he is.
One guy. He's only got 500 yards.
Yeah, it's not great.
I mean, it's like wow.
But they can run the ball. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to win multiple playoff games doing that, but I think they can beat the Bengals at home on Sunday. So I guess that's my logic. Tennessee at Cleveland. Oof. Whatever. Cleveland at home favored by 4.5. What do you think?
I'm taking Cleveland. They are going to kill Cam Ward.
They might.
And don't forget, you have got right now Myles Garrett closing in. He's got 19 sacks closing in. He wants 25 plus.
He's motivated. Yeah.
He is going to kill Cam Ward. Cam Ward, we may see a headstone placed at a 1-11 Tennessee team. 1-12 is what they'll be, and we may see a headstone put in the middle of the dog pound.
I'll take the Browns as well. I can't pick the Titans.
I couldn't pick the Titans if they were up my nose.
I was going to say I couldn't pick them out of my nose, and I love picking my nose when I'm not on camera. Washington is in Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy's going to be back. The Vikings are actually favored at home by 2.5.
Well, they're facing the mighty Marcus Mariota, but
he looked good the other night.
Yeah, he did. He looked good. Here's J.J. McCarthy's numbers: 54% completion percentage, quarterback rating of 57.9, 6 touchdowns, 10 picks. It sucks. And Justin Jefferson on week 14 just got over 800 yards and 2 touchdowns. How much are the Vikings favored by?
2.5. Just a field goal. I know. I'm thinking the same thing you are, and I don't like it.
I'm taking Washington. They stink. Washington stinks too. But I don't know. I gotta think Von Miller is going to do something to the Vikings, and who knows? Maybe Marcus Mariota has a better week this week. Who knows? So I'll take Washington. I'm just going out on a limb. I'm trying to pick a couple that are going to make me better.
There you go.
But,
there you go. You're taking some big swings.
Yeah,
I like that. You need a couple big swings to get back in the game. Well, I do too. I'm going to take Minnesota, and I hate it, and I hate myself for it. I just feel like J.J. McCarthy is due to be a decent quarterback for half of a game because I know he's got it in there. And I think Washington maybe played their best game and still lost on Sunday Night Football, and maybe they come back down to earth a little bit. Maybe. Right. I don't know. These games are impossible to pick. This isn't new. We've been struggling all year. The Dolphins and the Jets, good Lord.
This is,
all of the worst teams are playing each other.
If I was sitting here with pants on, I'd be shaking this one out of my pant leg right now.
The Dolphins at home are on the road in New Jersey, favored by 2.5 over the Jets.
The Jets, who they got? Tyrod Taylor?
I don't even know. I'm so upside down with some of these teams.
I'm going with Miami just because they're waking up. I got to think Mike McDaniel's gone at the end of the season. The Jets are still lost as a franchise. If somebody turned out the lights at MetLife and they just said, we're not going to play today, no one would miss it.
Fan would say, okay, I'm going to do some laundry. I'll take Miami as well. I'm with you on that. They just have more good players. And I don't think Mike McDaniel's an awesome coach, but we know he does some things well. You know what I mean? Like he can scheme some offense. I don't know what Aaron Glenn and anybody on the Jets does.
Right.
Tyrod Taylor. Saints and the Buccaneers in a growingly interesting NFC South. The Bucs at home, though, favored by 8.5. That's a big number.
It is, but I'm going to take Baker Mayfield and company. They have not looked good lately, though.
No, not at all.
And Igbuka has not been Igbuka for a while. And Rashad White, they don't have much of anything. They are just struggling without some of their premier guys that have gone down to injury. But I'll take Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay to cover. They got to get a win, and they got to look better doing it.
I'll take Tampa Bay as well, just because there's some of these teams I just can't bring myself to pick.
Right.
And I think Tampa Bay's better than they've looked. I think as they get healthier, and Baker's banged up too. He's got that shoulder, so that's something we got to think about. But I trust Tampa Bay at home over Tyler Shue or whoever the F. The Colts and the Jaguars. Indy favored by a point. The Jags are playing good, and I don't think many people are talking about it. This is actually an interesting game.
Trevor Lawrence still stinks. 16 touchdowns, 11 picks. Travis Etienne, though, he's got a little over 1,000 yards from the line of scrimmage. They've been doing it with Hines Allen, who's got 10 tackles for loss, 6 sacks in the season. I like what Jonathan Taylor's done. He's got almost 1,600 yards from scrimmage. It's just the last couple of weeks they figured out how to shut him down, and Jacksonville's playing better. And don't forget, Daniel Jones is running around with a broken fibula. As much as I don't like Trevor Lawrence, I'm taking Jacksonville at home.
Damn it. I'm going to take Jacksonville, and I thought I was going to be different on this one. I agree. They're playing all right. And I think their coach is
good.
And
I know every time I pick them, they screw me like I can't even say it. So I know I'm going down, but I got to take Jacksonville, who's just playing better right now.
Well, luckily, we're getting screwed by lots of teams, so it's not personal with Jacksonville. The last of the noon games, then we can break. The Steelers at the Ravens. Steelers might be fighting for their season. The Ravens at home favored by 6.
I'm taking the Ravens, but I'm taking Pittsburgh to cover.
Oh,
Pittsburgh to cover. The Ravens are going to get the win, and it's going to be a close game. And because at least Mike Tomlin doesn't have to hear the fire Mike Tomlin chants. But this team is on the downside, and Lamar Jackson has not looked like Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry although he's almost got 1,000 yards now. He's got 930 something. But I still don't have belief in either of these teams. But I think because they're at home and by default and the better run game, that goes to Derrick Henry and company. I'll go with Baltimore.
But Pittsburgh to cover?
Pittsburgh to cover.
I will take Baltimore to cover. I think Pittsburgh stinks, and I think that thing is falling apart, and we might see it.
They play well enough to be close, but no cigar. That's the reason I went with them.
Yeah, and I think that could absolutely happen because Baltimore just doesn't have the same sauce that we've seen.
Right.
But I think this week again, I think Pittsburgh's down bad, so I'll take Baltimore to cover. That's it for the noon slate.
That's it for the noon games. We'll come back. Stay tuned. We got a lot more. The Bill Michaels Huddle, the afternoon games, and the Monday night game, and the Packers game is next.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back in. Again, a reminder, right after the Packers and the Bears, we're going to be live this weekend at Burkle's Sports Bar and Grill in Green Bay. Come on by and say hi. We're going to be there with all the reaction, the analysis, everything regarding the Green and Gold and Chicago Bears. It's the Green and Gold postgame show. Immediately after every Green Bay game at home, we're going to be at Burkle's. And then in a couple of weeks, we're going to be on the road. We're going to be down at the Shy Bar inside the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk. We're going to be there for the Packers and the Bears as well with your postgame audio, reaction, analysis, Mike Clemens in the locker room, everything. That is the Green and Gold postgame show. There you have it. All right, back at it. What else we got?
Classic 3:30 matchup to begin the second slate. Denver, 7.5-point favorites in Las Vegas playing the Raiders.
7.5. Oh, I will take Denver. Denver's just, their defense is just way too good. I mean, if Geno Smith comes out of this thing, without giving up 5 sacks, he's got 14 picks on the season, by the way.
Not good.
Not good. So, and Ashton Genty, for God love him, he doesn't have an offensive line to run behind to save his life. I mean, I think he's a better running back than this, but I'm going to take Denver.
I love our analysis. Geno Smith, that many picks? Not good. I'll take Denver. Denver has not been covering big numbers, but Vegas stinks.
Right.
This team stinks. So I will take Denver as well. The Rams let us down last week. Whatever. That'll happen, I think, randomly. The Rams, 7.5-point favorites in Arizona to play their division rival Cardinals.
If it was 14, I'd still take the Rams.
Really?
They're going to come back with a vengeance after getting beat in Carolina. They're going to come back and beat the hell out of Jacoby Brissett and company. Yep. Even though they will have Marvin Harrison Jr. back.
I will take the Rams as well. We are Ramalee. I'm rolling with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. Sunday Night Football. The Texans and the Chiefs. This is a good one. Probably eliminate, maybe not for the Texans, but certainly for the Chiefs. They need to win this game. It's at Arrowhead, and they are favored. The Chiefs are by 3.5.
4-point spread. I'm going to say the Texans cover.
Oh,
it's a 3-point game. It's another 1-score game for the Chiefs, and I'll take the Texans to cover. That defense of the Texans is absolutely freaking for real. So I'll Kansas City may win, but I think it's by a field goal by the skin of their teeth just to hang on.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I'll take the Texans.
That's reasonable. I'm going to take the Chiefs. Yeah, I just think they're better. Like, I think Mahomes is better, and I think he's got a game in him, and they are desperate as desperate can get in this spot, so I will take them. Monday Night Football. This is the antithesis of last week. Remember, it was Giants, Patriots.
Right.
Ugh. This is fun. This is a matchup we don't get very often, Bill. The Eagles are in LA to play the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh. I like this.
Tell
this
me the Chargers are favored by 3.5.
Philly's favored by 3.
No.
On the road.
No. God. Okay, I'm going to take Philly. Justin Herbert just had surgery on his hand because he's got the broken bones in the back of his hand.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Eagles to redeem themselves. I know I shouldn't because they are a mental mess right now, but I'm going to take Philly just because Justin Herbert's banged up.
Chargers. I will take the Chargers.
Who got?
I don't really have I don't even like the Chargers. I just think the Eagles are in the tank right now, man.
Yeah.
I
think so too. I just can't go against them right now because the Chargers just have not looked that good to me.
They haven't.
They started off so fast and then they just kind of went in the toilet too.
Don't you think we'll see a better version of the Chargers before the year is done, or do you think we've seen their best?
I think we've seen their best. I think Harbaugh is trying to figure it out, and they're hanging on. But I don't have a lot of belief in them.
All right, and now for the main event. And we have 2 solid minutes to talk about this. We always run out of time, so I'm glad we have a minute here. The Packers are hosting the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers are home favorites by 6.5 points.
6.5. I look at it this way, and this is analytically looking at this.
Taking emotion out of it.
Yep. Jordan Love has got a quarterback rating of 104.3. Caleb Williams, 88.2. 17 touchdowns, 5 picks, 19 touchdowns, 3 picks for Jordan Love. DeAndre Swift has over 1,000 yards from the line of scrimmage, 774 yards running the football. Josh Jacobs, who has been banged up and missed a couple of games, has 731 on just, 26 more carries. Monangai has another almost 600 yards. Between the two, they have almost 1,700 yards of total offense. Romadunze also has got the bad foot. He's coming back. Monangai's got a bad foot as well. He's coming back. But the defense with Micah Parsons, 12.5 sacks. Rashawn Gary, who's got to show up at some point again, 7.5. Evan Williams has been playing like a beast. Xavier McKinney's been playing extremely well. Jordan Love, 234. Tied a career high, 4 touchdowns, coming off a big game. So I'm kind of starting to really believe that Love is getting into a groove. I am taking the Packers to win, but I'm taking the Bears to cover.
I like this. That's an excellent breakdown. I will take the Packers to win and cover.
It has been 1-score games between these two, and going back to last year, remember, it was a blocked field goal by a Carl Brooks finger that won them a game against the Bears, and that was an Eberflus-led team. I just have a bad feeling about this game, but I'm going to take the Packers to win, the Bears to cover. There you have it.
That bad feeling, you're just feeling the anxiety that comes with a good football game. Packers are going to win by 7 at least. And I think we're going to put together a nice little December here, Bill. I actually feel very good about this.
I feel good about the Packers winning the game, but I as much as I want to see a blowout, and I hope they do. I hope it's an absolute, the old Looney Tunes where the dog, they pull him out and they're spanking his ass with a board. I want to see that, but I got a feeling that this might be a nail biter.
All right, well, that's it. We got to go. Got about 8 seconds.
That's it. We got 8 seconds. Time for us to go. Have a go.